If you've been learning Japanese for a while, you've probably realized that the real goal is to get past those textbook phrases and start sounding, natural. Today, we're going to unlock a huge piece of that puzzle, the volitional form. This is your key to sounding less like you're in a classroom and way more like you're just chatting with friends.
So think about this classic situation. You want to say something simple, right? Like, hey, let's grab some food, or let's go see a movie. You've probably learned one way to say let's, but it might feel a little stiff, maybe a bit too polite for when you're just hanging out. So how do you fix that? Well, that is exactly what we're going to dive into today.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we'll cover what the volitional form even is. Then, we're going to break down how to actually make it for all three kinds of verbs, the ru-verbs, the u-verbs, and those couple of tricky irregulars. And to finish things off, we'll look at a super easy way to level it up to make offers. Let's get to it.
Okay, first things first, what are we actually talking about here? The volitional form is basically your go-to for making casual suggestions. It's really the heart of how people make informal plans and decisions when they're talking to each other.
So the really important thing to get here is that it does two jobs at once. On one hand, you can use it to say what you plan on doing, kind of like saying, I think I'll head to bed early. But on the other hand, and this is how you'll hear it most often with friends, it's the perfect way to say, hey, let's do this. It's just incredibly useful.
Now this is the key distinction. I'm willing to bet you learned the ましょう form pretty early on, right? Like in 食べましょう for let's eat. And that's totally correct, but it's the polite way to say it. The volitional form is its casual twin. When you use this one with your friends, that's when you really start to sound natural and relaxed.
All right, let's get our hands dirty and start building this thing. We're going to start with the absolute easiest group of verbs to change, the ru-verbs. Seriously, if you can get these down, you are well on your way.
Okay, so the rule for these is super simple. You just take a ru-verb, like taberu, which means to eat. All you do is chop off that final ru at the end and tack on yo instead. That's it. So, taberu becomes tabeyo. Easy as that.
And you can really see that pattern lock in right here. Taberu, to eat, becomes tabeyo. Let's eat. Miru, to see, becomes mio. Let's see. And neru, to sleep, becomes neyo. Let's sleep. It's just a clean, consistent swap every single time.
Now let's see how they look in a full sentence. That first one, watashi wa ashita keiki o tabeyo, is showing personal intention. I will eat cake tomorrow. But look at the second one, watashi tachi wa shishino mio. Using we turns it into a group suggestion. Let's look at photos. This just shows how that one form works perfectly for both jobs.
All right, next up, the u-verbs. Now these work just a little bit differently, but once you get the hang of the sound change, it becomes totally automatic. So for u-verbs, the trick is to focus on that very last syllable. Let's take a verb like kaku, to write. The final sound is ku. What you're gonna do is change that u vowel sound to an o sound. So ku becomes ko. Then you just add an o right after it. So kaku turns into kakao. Let's look at a few more so you can really hear it. Iku, to go, becomes iko, let's go. Yomu, to read, becomes yomo, let's read. You can hear that distinct o-u sound at the end of every single one. That is your signal for a volitional u-verb. And here they are out in the wild. You're deciding you'll read a book this weekend? Hon yomo. Suggesting to a friend, hey, let's make a call later? Denwa o kakeo. This is exactly how you talk about what you're going to do next. Now for the part of grammar that everybody just loves, the exceptions. But listen, I've got some great news. When it comes to the volitional form, there are only two irregular verbs you need to worry about. That's it. Just two. These guys don't follow any of the rules we just went over, so they're pure memorization. Suru, which is to do, becomes shio, and kuru, which is to come, becomes koyo. That's the entire list.
So you just gotta lock these two into your memory. And believe me, it's worth it because suru and kuru are some of the most common verbs in the entire language. You will be using shio and koyo all the time.
So let's see them in action. Suggesting, let's play tennis on Saturday, that's tennisu o shio. Deciding, okay, I'm gonna do my homework now, shukudai o shio. Or just stating your plan to come to school at 3, gakkor ni koyo. See? Simple and gets the job done.
Okay, so you've basically mastered the volitional form. Now let's add one final, really simple trick that's going to make your Japanese even more flexible. All it takes is adding one tiny little particle at the end. The formula is exactly as easy as it looks. You take the volitional form that you just learned and you pop the question particle ka right on the end. And just like that, you turn your statement or your suggestion into a question, which makes it feel like an offer.
And this is where you can see the magic happen. Motsu on its own means I will carry it, but motoka completely changes it to shall I carry it. It's a polite offer. Tabeyo is let's eat, but tabeyoka is shall we eat. It's a way of inviting someone else's opinion. This is an incredibly useful little trick for everyday chats.
So there you have it. The volitional form really is a powerful tool to shift your Japanese away from being formal and sounding like it's from a book to something that's way more casual and natural. You've got the rules for all the verbs, and you even know the trick for turning them into offers. The only thing left to do is actually use it. So the real question is, how are you going to try this out this week?